Groovy English Podcast.
Hey there! Welcome back to Groovy English. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Aiden. We share real stories, useful tips, and everyday English to help you grow with confidence.
Wherever you are in your English learning journey, we're glad you're here.
If you're enjoying the podcast, feel free to like, subscribe, or share it with a friend.
Let's get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Groovy English. I'm Olivia, and today we're diving into one of those topics that seems almost too ordinary to think about, but once you really look closer, you realize it has layers of meaning, power, and potential. We're going to spend the next half hour exploring the secret power of small talk. And I know what some of you are thinking. Small talk? Really? Isn't that just the boring chit-chat we have while waiting for the bus or making coffee at work? But that's exactly the point. Something that looks so small and ordinary on the surface actually holds the key to building friendships, starting careers, learning languages, and feeling connected to the world around us. Let's start with this thought. When you meet someone new, what's the very first thing you usually say? Probably something like, "Hi, how are you?" or "Nice to meet you," or maybe a comment about where you are, like, "It's busy here today." These phrases are tiny. They don't carry deep meaning, but they do something incredibly important. They break the ice. They make the moment feel less heavy, less awkward. Small talk is like oil in a machine. It keeps things moving smoothly. Without it, interactions can feel cold, mechanical, even unfriendly. Imagine if every time you saw someone, you skipped all greetings and just jumped straight into business. Send me the file. Do this. What's the answer? Yes, it would be efficient, but it would also feel robotic, almost harsh. We need small talk because it humanizes us. It's a signal that says, "I see you, and I acknowledge you as another human being." When I first moved to an English-speaking country, I had a funny experience that taught me this lesson. I was in the supermarket, and the cashier smiled and said, "How's your day going so far?" I froze. I thought, do they really want to know? Should I tell them I'm tired because I woke up too early? Should I mention that I'm homesick and missing my family? Or do they just want me to say, "Fine, thanks"? In that moment, I realized that small talk is not necessarily about answering literally. It's about ritual. It's a social dance, a friendly script that makes both people feel comfortable. Once I understood that, I started enjoying it. Instead of stressing about giving the perfect answer, I began to play along, to treat it like an invitation to connect in a light, easy way. Now let's expand this idea. Small talk is not the same everywhere. In the US and the UK, weather is the go-to topic. Nice day, isn't it? Looks like rain later. In Canada, it might be hockey or the polite "Sorry, excuse me." In Australia, people often start with sports or casual jokes. In Japan, small talk might include comments about the season. The cherry blossoms are beautiful this year. In many Latin American countries, people might ask about your family before diving into any business. What's fascinating is that across all these cultures, the purpose of small talk is the same. It's a bridge. The topics are just the wrapping paper, but the gift inside is always connected. Think about your own experiences. Maybe you've been on a bus or train and exchanged a few words with the person next to you. Maybe you've been at a party where you didn't know anyone, and the first thing you did was make a small comment about the music, the food, or the decorations. Those little comments are lifelines. They're like a universal key that unlocks the possibility of a real conversation. Without them, we stay strangers. With them, we take the first step toward becoming acquaintances, colleagues, friends, even partners. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I went to a networking event. I didn't know anyone there. Everyone was standing in groups, chatting, laughing, looking confident. I felt nervous. I thought, how am I going to start a conversation here? Then I noticed a man standing alone near the coffee table, pouring himself a cup. I walked up and said, I think this coffee is the only thing keeping us awake right now. He laughed, and we started talking. That conversation turned into a professional connection, and a year later, he recommended me for a job opportunity. Can you imagine? One silly comment about coffee changed my career path. That's the hidden power of small talk. It can open doors you didn't even know existed. But small talk isn't just useful for networking or making friends. It's also powerful for mental health. Studies in psychology show that people who engage in casual conversations with strangers, like chatting with a barista, greeting a neighbor, or making small talk with someone in an elevator, actually feel happier and more connected than people who don't. Why? Because humans need micro-connections. We don't always have time for deep, heart-to-heart conversations. But even short moments of recognition, a smile, a hello, a comment about the weather, remind us that we belong, that we're part of a community. Especially in cities where life can feel rushed and lonely, those little exchanges make a huge difference. And here's something that English learners often overlook. Small talk is the perfect training ground for language practice. When you're learning a new language, the idea of holding a long, serious conversation can feel overwhelming. But small talk is short, predictable, and repetitive. You don't need advanced grammar to say, "Nice weather today," or "How was your weekend?" Every time you practice these phrases, you're building fluency and confidence. And because small talk topics are light, the pressure is lower. If you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. People will usually just smile and continue. That's why I always encourage my students, don't wait for big conversations. Start with the small ones. They're easier and they build a foundation for everything else. Now let's get practical. What are some good small talk openers you can use in English? Here are a few classics. How's your day going so far? Did you have a good weekend? This line is moving slowly, isn't it? That's a great bag. Where did you get it? I love this song. Do you know the artist? Notice something? Most of these openers are about the present moment, the environment you share with the other person. That's the easiest way to connect, because it's something both of you can see or experience right now. You don't need to invent something clever. Just comment on what's around you. And remember, good small talk isn't only about what you say. It's also about how you listen. If someone says, "I had a busy weekend," and you simply reply, "Oh, okay," the conversation dies. But if you show curiosity, "Oh, really? What did you do?" you open the door wider. Suddenly, it's not just small talk anymore. It's the beginning of a real exchange. That's the secret. Small talk is not an end, it's a beginning. Of course, small talk also has its challenges. Some people feel shy. Others worry about running out of things to say. If that's you, here's a tip. Focus on questions, not statements. A statement ends with you. A question continues with the other person. For example, instead of saying, "I'm so tired today," try, "I didn't sleep much last night. How about you?" That shifts the attention and keeps the flow alive. Now, let's think about small talk in the digital age. These days, many of our conversations happen online, on social media, in chat apps, even in dating apps. Small talk looks different there, but it still plays the same role. Think about when someone sends you a message saying, "Hey, how's your day going?" or reacts to your photo with a casual comment. That's digital small talk. It might look small, but it's often the seed of a bigger relationship. Even emojis, a smiley face, a thumbs up are a kind of micro small talk. They're signals that say, "I see you, I'm here, I'm engaging with you." Let's also talk about personality differences. For extroverts, small talk feels natural. They love chatting with strangers, filling silences, bouncing from topic to topic. For introverts, it can feel draining or awkward. But here's the good news. Small talk doesn't have to be loud or exaggerated. Even a quiet "good morning" to a neighbor is enough. You don't have to force yourself into long conversations. Just a tiny gesture of acknowledgement goes a long way. Small talk belongs to everyone, introverts, extroverts, and everyone in between. I want to share another personal story. A few years ago, I was traveling alone in Spain. I didn't speak much Spanish at the time, and I felt nervous about interacting with locals. One evening, I sat down at a small cafe, and the waiter smiled and said something like, "It's a nice evening, isn't it?" I understood just enough to nod and reply, "Yes, beautiful." That tiny moment gave me confidence. It was small talk, yes, but for me it was a victory. It reminded me that even with limited language skills, I could connect. And that connection made me feel less alone in a foreign country. This is why I believe small talk is a superpower. It's not just about words. It's about courage, kindness, and openness. It's about saying, "I'm here and I'm willing to share this moment with you." And that willingness can change everything. Let's think for a moment about how small talk works as a bridge between generations. Imagine a teenager trying to bond with their grandparents. They may not have overlapping experiences or the same cultural references, but a small comment like, "This soup is really good," can open the door to a story about how grandma used to make it when she was young. Suddenly, a simple remark transforms into an exchange of history, culture, and family memory. Small talk here isn't just idle chatter. It's the spark that allows wisdom to travel across time. Another fascinating element of small talk is how it helps us decode environments. If you walk into a new office, for example, and hear people chatting about their weekend plans or their favorite local coffee shop, you get subtle hints about the culture of that workplace. Are people open, warm, and inclusive? Or is the talk surface level and guarded? Small talk acts like a thermometer, measuring the climate of a place without anyone having to declare it openly. What's also worth noticing is the way small talk plays into resilience. When life throws us curveballs, those light, everyday exchanges remind us that we're still part of the human rhythm. A quick joke with a neighbor on a tough day doesn't solve the problem, but it grounds us in normalcy. It tells us that even when challenges arise, there are small moments of connection that keep us steady. And here's something surprising. Small talk can actually be a key to innovation. Think about those informal conversations by the water cooler or in the break room. A casual, "What are you working on today?" can lead to an exchange of ideas that spark creativity. Many companies have discovered that their greatest innovations didn't happen during scheduled meetings, but rather during those spontaneous conversations that started out as small talk. Now let's look at how small talk travels across languages. For English learners, this skill can feel both intimidating and rewarding. It's intimidating because you may fear making mistakes, but it's rewarding because small talk doesn't demand perfection. It thrives on effort and intention. Even if your grammar isn't flawless, the act of reaching out with a simple, "How was your day?" in English creates the possibility of human connection. And often, the warmth of that connection matters far more than the accuracy of the sentence. There's also an interesting link between small talk and mindfulness. When we practice small talk, we're often engaging with the present moment in a very real way. We're noticing the weather, the taste of the coffee, or the smile on someone's face. Small talk grounds us in the now. And in a world where we're often pulled into the past or the future, these small observations can serve as anchors, gently reminding us to stay here in this moment. We can't ignore the role of humor in small talk either. A witty observation or a lighthearted comment can break tension and bring instant relief. Think of standing in a long line at the grocery store. If someone jokes, "I guess we're all living here now," it not only lightens the mood, but also creates an immediate sense of camaraderie among strangers. That's the magic of humor. It transforms monotony into connection. Small talk can also prepare us for bigger conversations. Sometimes, we need to warm up before diving into more personal or vulnerable topics. Talking about the weather or the latest sports game isn't the main meal, it's the appetizer. It helps both people ease into a space of trust. Without that warm-up, diving straight into deeper conversations can feel abrupt or overwhelming. It's important, too, to highlight how small talk shows empathy. Asking, "How's your morning going?" might sound ordinary, but it signals that you care enough to check in. Even if the answer is a quick, "Good, thanks," the fact that you asked matters. In many ways, small talk is empathy in motion, a consistent way of showing others that they are seen. I also want to mention the cultural layers of small talk. In some cultures, small talk is almost a ritual that maintains harmony and social cohesion. In others, it's a way of politely creating distance while still acknowledging another's presence. Understanding these cultural nuances helps us navigate different social settings with grace and sensitivity. One underrated benefit of small talk is how it strengthens our listening skills. Because the topics are often light, we don't feel pressured to prepare the perfect response. Instead, we can practice truly listening, picking up on tone, body language, and subtle cues. Over time, this builds the foundation for being a better communicator in all aspects of life. Another interesting aspect is how small talk gives us a sense of belonging. Think of that moment when someone includes you in their casual conversation. You suddenly feel like part of the circle, even if the topic is trivial. That sense of belonging can be deeply reassuring, especially when you're in new or uncertain environments. Now, let's not forget the digital age. Small talk has adapted to texts, emails, and even emojis. A simple, "How's your day going?" sent over a messaging app can replicate the same warmth as a face-to-face interaction. The medium has changed, but the heart of small talk, the desire to connect, remains the same. And when we think about mental health, small talk takes on another layer of importance. For someone who feels isolated, even a brief chat with a cashier or a bus driver can provide a moment of relief. These small interactions might seem insignificant to us, but to someone else, they could be the highlight of their day. Next, I want to touch on how small talk allows us to practice gratitude. When we make a comment like, "It's such a beautiful morning," we're not just filling silence. We're acknowledging the good around us. These small acknowledgments can gradually shift our mindset toward positivity. Over time, we begin to notice more things worth appreciating, and that shapes the quality of our everyday lives. And here's something powerful. Small talk can help reduce stereotypes. When you strike up a casual conversation with someone who looks different from you chip away at preconceived notions. You realize that beneath appearances, there are shared experiences, like laughing about traffic or talking about the weather. These moments humanize us, reminding us that we have more in common than we sometimes think. What's beautiful about small talk is how it creates micro moments of kindness. Holding the door for someone and saying, "After you," may last only a second, but the ripple effect of that kindness can be significant. One small interaction might inspire another, creating a chain of goodwill that stretches far beyond what we can see. And small talk doesn't only affect relationships with others, it changes how we see ourselves. When we engage in small talk successfully, we feel more socially capable, more confident, and more connected to the world. Over time, these feelings reinforce our sense of identity as someone who belongs, who matters, and who can connect. Small talk also plays a fascinating role in how we experience different cultures. In some countries, like the United States or Canada, small talk is almost an expectation. People ask, "How's your day?" or "How's it going?" even if they don't necessarily want a detailed response. In other cultures, such as Japan, people may be more reserved at first, but when they do engage in small talk, it's a very intentional act of kindness and connection. Realizing these cultural differences can help us appreciate small talk as a social bridge, one that adapts to different traditions while still serving the same universal purpose, making human interaction smoother and warmer. Another overlooked benefit of small talk is how it helps us practice empathy. When you engage in a light conversation with someone, you get a tiny window into their world. Maybe they mention being tired because their baby kept them up at night, or they comment on how the weather affects their mood. These little revelations allow us to see beyond our own perspective, and when we empathize with someone, even briefly, it strengthens our sense of community. Over time, practicing empathy through small talk helps us become more patient and compassionate people. There's also something special about how small talk makes transitions easier in life. Think about moving to a new city or starting a new job. The first few days can feel intimidating, even overwhelming. But small talk provides a soft entry point. A colleague asking, "How was your weekend?" or a neighbor saying, "Nice weather today, isn't it?" can instantly reduce the sense of isolation. These little gestures are like welcome mats, gently easing us into new environments and helping us feel like we belong. Interestingly, small talk also has hidden professional benefits. Many career opportunities don't happen through formal job applications, but through networking. And networking, at its core, often begins with small talk. Asking someone how they're enjoying a conference or making a casual comment about a keynote speaker can be the start of a relationship that later leads to mentorship, collaboration, or even a job offer. This is why some business experts call small talk the currency of opportunity. It's not just polite chatter, it's the foundation of professional growth. Of course, there are times when small talk doesn't feel natural, especially for introverts. But even for those who find it draining, it can still be powerful. For introverts, small talk doesn't need to mean pretending to be overly social. It can be as simple as asking thoughtful questions and listening attentively. In fact, introverts often shine in small talk because they tend to make conversations feel more meaningful, even when the topic is simple. By approaching small talk as a skill rather than a personality trait, anyone can find their own style of doing it comfortably. Another way to look at small talk is as a practice in presence. In our fast-paced, digital world, we're often glued to our phones or rushing to the next thing. But when someone initiates small talk, it pulls us back into the present moment. Whether it's chatting with the barista or smiling at a fellow passenger on the bus, small talk reminds us that life isn't just about efficiency and tasks, it's also about connection and shared humanity. Small talk can also be a great confidence booster. Think about it. Every time you initiate a little conversation with a stranger, you're practicing courage. You're stepping out of your comfort zone and taking a social risk, even if it's tiny. The more you do this, the more confident you become, not only in conversation, but also in other areas of your life. That confidence radiates, making you more approachable and opening the door to deeper relationships later on. Another surprising thing is how small talk can spark creativity. Many great ideas come from unexpected conversations. A casual chat in the office kitchen or a spontaneous exchange at a cafe can plant the seed for collaboration or innovation. Because small talk is unstructured and low pressure, it allows thoughts to flow more freely, sometimes leading to insights that wouldn't have surfaced in a more formal discussion. Small talk also helps us navigate tricky social situations. Imagine you're at a party and don't know many people. Diving straight into deep conversations might feel awkward. But starting with something light like commenting on the music, the food, or the venue can break the ice and ease tension. Once the small talk sets a comfortable tone, it often becomes much easier to transition into more meaningful topics. Interestingly, even silence benefits from small talk. When two people are in a space together, silence can sometimes feel heavy or uncomfortable, especially if they're strangers. Small talk acts as a cushion, softening that silence and making it feel friendly instead of awkward. This is why people often chat about the weather or traffic while waiting in line. It transforms a potentially tense silence into a moment of shared experience. There's also a psychological benefit to small talk when it comes to mental health. Studies show that casual social interactions, even brief ones, contribute to our sense of belonging and happiness. People who engage in small talk throughout the day, whether with coworkers, neighbors, or even strangers, tend to feel less lonely and more connected. It's almost like small talk sprinkles little doses of positivity across our day, lifting our mood without us even realizing it. Small talk also strengthens trust over time. When someone consistently greets you with a smile, remembers small details, or makes light conversation, it builds familiarity. And familiarity leads to trust. That's why relationships, whether personal, professional, or even commercial, often begin with small talk. It's a low-stakes way of proving reliability and kindness before deeper bonds form. One of the most beautiful things about small talk is how democratic it is. You don't need wealth, status, or special skills to engage in it. Anyone can say hello, comment on the sunshine, or compliment someone's outfit. Small talk is one of the most accessible forms of connection, reminding us that no matter our differences, we share the same basic human need to be seen and acknowledged. Another layer to small talk is humor. Sometimes a little joke or playful comment in casual conversation can completely shift the energy in a room. Humor makes us feel relaxed, lowers barriers, and creates shared joy. Even when the joke is simple or silly, it leaves a lasting positive impression and makes people want to engage with you more. Small talk isn't just functional, it can also be fun. Small talk teaches us patience and curiosity. When we engage in these light conversations, we learn to slow down, listen, and appreciate details we might otherwise overlook. We notice the way someone describes their day, the excitement in their voice when they talk about a hobby, or the concern in their tone about the weather. These tiny details enrich our understanding of others and remind us that every person has a story, even if it starts with something as simple as "How's it going?" Finally, I'd like to point out that small talk is often where great stories begin. That random chat on a plane, in a cafe, or at the bus stop can blossom into a lifelong friendship, a business opportunity, or even a love story. And it all starts with a simple hello or how are you today? When you think about it, those little conversations are not so little after all. They carry the potential to change the course of our lives. So here's my challenge to you, dear listener. Over the next week, make small talk every day. At least once a day, say something to someone you wouldn't normally talk to. It could be the bus driver, the security guard, a stranger in line, a colleague you don't know very well. Keep it simple, keep it light. Notice how they react, and notice how you feel afterward. I promise, even if the conversation is short, you'll feel a little spark of connection. And that spark is what makes life brighter. As we wrap up, remember this. Small talk is not meaningless. It's not a waste of time. It's the opposite. It's the foundation of human connection. It's the doorway to deeper conversations. It's the reason strangers become friends, colleagues become allies, and lonely days feel a little less lonely. So embrace it, play with it, enjoy it, and never underestimate the secret power of small talk. Thank you for joining me today on Groovy English. I'm Olivia, and I hope you carry this lesson into your daily life. Start small, connect often, and remember, the little conversations are what make the big moments possible.
Your English is shining brighter by the minute. Hit that next video to keep leveling up your skills. Or dive into our other episodes for more secrets to talk like a pro. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to join the Groovy English crew.